What is up, everyone, and welcome back to the Fast Life Podcast. On today's episode, I'm sitting down with New York City-based photographer VonGasphalt, who is currently on a motorcycle trip, possibly across the country, but he left New York City, came down here to Dallas. We spent the whole weekend shooting photos, talking about photography, and just having an all-around good time. We recorded this episode, which was one of many, many great conversations that we had that I'm very thankful for. So hopefully you enjoy it. Before we get into it, please take a moment to check out our sponsors, 1-800-LAW-TIGERS. If you or someone you know has been in an accident, they'll get you taken care of in the right direction and the right manner. Check them out. Also, if you need some cool shit for your motorcycle, Arlen S. Motorcycles has the cool ass parts that you're going to need and you're going to want. Also, if you need to get your lights dialed in on your bike, headlights, taillights, and everything in between, Custom Dynamics is the one I use, and I recommend them to you. Check them out. Also, if you need a new or used motorcycle, don't hesitate to check out Cowboy Harley-Davidson down in Austin, Texas. They have a great selection of new and used motorcycles. They'll get you going down the road. All right, let's get into it with VonGasphalt.
Hey guys, you ready to let the dogs out?
Fast Life Podcast.
Well, I don't know how we're going to do this, man. I seriously, I think that, we've done like 7 podcasts since
Yeah, I
you've been
know.
to town.
I was thinking the same. Like,
So
we can, just see.
we'll have to probably recap some of the conversations and whatnot. But I think what are we on? Like, what's the agenda? What's the hope of this trip?
Dude, that is a very deep first question. The hope of this trip is to do different things versus what I've done. I think to test different side of what a road trip is. I think I've always thought of a road trip in a very conventional way because I was just going from point A to point B to point C on my motorcycle, and everything was always pretty seamless and pretty smooth, despite the occasional breakdowns and all of that good stuff. Mm-hmm. I think this trip has been an absolute curveball of a trip. Nothing worked the way it was supposed to work, and it almost became an exercise in PMA, positive mental attitude. It became an exercise in finding silver linings when things get tough. It became an exercise of finding plan Bs when plan A doesn't work and still finding a way to make things interesting where everything that I had imagined this trip would be kind of unraveled before my eyes in a few days.
Yeah.
So it really became more of a philosophical exercise more than the trip itself, I would say. Maybe I'll backtrack just a little bit because that's a lot of strong statements. That trip was always supposed to be a regular trip. The difference between this one and the previous ones was I was going to be on a different motorcycle, so not on my usual Dyna, but on a fully built 2024 Street Glide that I have built over the course of the winter and spring alongside with my friend FX DLS Brooklyn on a road glide. And that was a 6 months process of taking stock bikes and putting them together and bringing them to, the best level we could with our respective means and visions. And with that trip was a lot of expectation tied up as far as like the riding we're going to do, the content we're going to do, like the events we're going to bring these bikes to. So I had 6 months of like imagination of what this trip was going to be. Like 6 months of, okay, I'm going to do all this kind of stuff. The Street Glide is going to be super sick. And then, unfortunately, on day 3 of the trip, like I ended up catching a death wobble because of geometrical issues on the bike, and I went down in Milwaukee, and the bike was trashed. I mean, it's not trashed actually; it's pretty good, but not rideable. And I broke my finger also, and so I couldn't keep riding because I needed my finger to heal. And I had all these events lined up. I had homecoming, I had Sturgis, I had something I needed to shoot for Harley in Oregon, in Idaho. Mm-hmm. And I was like, how am I going to do all this? And should I just go home? Should I just cancel everything? And I kind of forced myself to stay out there, find ways to make things work that were just not what I thought it was going to be at peace that all the plans that I had made for 6 months were just in the trash can, and that I needed to make new plans and find a way to remain engaged in the trip, interested, open-minded enough to meet people, even though deep in my head I had dark thoughts, and kind of roll with the punches. And that's the first time that trip was very hard because of that. Sorry, that's a long answer to a simple
100%,
question.
Yeah, no.
But
And this was the trip that initially was going to kick off for on the way to Homecoming in Sturgis.
correct. So
Yeah.
we left New York with the Cursed crew, and we'll talk about Cursed later, like a bunch of our friends. And like for 3 days we were on the road, and we were all going to Milwaukee. And it was a good time, like very good time. And then like most of our friends would go home, and then Alex and I would keep pushing. He ended up doing what he was supposed to do on his road glide with his dad. They went to the Pacific and back, while I was gonna go to Oregon to shoot stuff for Harley on the street glide, and then we would meet together somewhere in California and ride back to Sturgis. And obviously none of that happened. But this trip was like it was kind of like the culmination of everything Alex, FXDRS Brooklyn, and I have been working for 6 months, and so it took me a lot of effort to get out of my own head and be like, okay, everything I had in mind is not gonna happen the way I planned it. How can I be okay with that? And how can I find a way to still have a good time and still do great stuff? And because at the end of the day, nothing of this matters. Like it's just a bike. It's how can I still enjoy my time, and how can I still make content that's going to be interesting, etc. And so in the end, the content ended up being pretty cool. It was, and we've talked about this last year. It ended up just not being about me, which is actually more interesting, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm actually somewhat, I guess you could say, proud of myself. Was that not trying to sound pretentious, but I'm happy with myself that I'm usually a fairly pessimistic person, but for once I was able to force myself to be optimistic. And for once I was able to force myself to be really somewhat vulnerable, but also yet outgoing, to meet people, to say yes to people that offered opportunities during this trip, and to still make the best of it in the way that I could, at least.
So did you go home after Sturgis, and then basically like that's when it was like, you know what, I'm gonna jump on the Dyna and I'm gonna do my own trip?
Yes. So the only reason I went home after Sturgis is because, and that's the saddest part of this wreck, when I went down with the death wobble, my 100 to 500 lens got busted, and I had to send it to Canon for repair, and they shipped it back home. And so I had to get home to get the lens because I had to go to Ohio to shoot the race last week.
Yeah.
And so I had to be in New York at some point. And then I was like, well, my finger is doing better. It's been 3 weeks, 4 weeks almost since it was broken. Yeah. So I can probably get on the Dyna, and I can probably go there with the Dyna. I was also trying to save money because I've been renting cars for like 3 weeks. It's not a cheap thing to do.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I'll get on the Dyna, and it's a bit of an open-ended trip. I knew I had to be in Ohio, and after that, I was like, well, I'm in Ohio. Where should I go? And then I went to Indianapolis with Andy, King and Crown. Then Ben, Get Bent Moto, was like, come to Nashville. I was like, okay. Then I knew I needed to put it in Texas at some point, and so we chatted, and a few other people we chatted too. And I was like, okay, I'll come to Texas, and then I don't know where I'm going after in 3 days from there. Mm-hmm. But the Dyna, as always, has worked really well. So far so good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's interesting because I understand the concept of like creating a lot of expectations, especially when you have a lot of collaborations going on with the bike build, like the way you guys were doing with the Road Glide and Street Glide. And so these collaborations become obligations. And when those obligations go south, it's like you don't feel like you're fulfilling your end of the bargain, which creates a bit of I don't know, like, I wouldn't say uncertainty, but like it just makes you feel like, fuck, I didn't come through.
I felt terrible.
Integrity becomes at question.
I felt more terrible about that specific part you mentioned than my own health and my own wreck. Like the part that really bothered me the most was that I was letting down the people that I told that I would create cool stuff for.
In a similar way, when I did my trip last summer when we first met, I talked about it so much on the podcast and through the channels that I have that I felt so like I wasn't getting the things I wanted. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I was having that same feeling that you had about like providing the thing that you set out to do or you kind of promised everybody. So because of that, I've tried to be less vocal about the plans and things I want to do on here so that if things change
Yeah.
or if things fall through, I don't feel so like, well, guys, I know I said I was going to do this.
Yeah.
You know, because for a long time, I mean, that was kind of like my thing is that I wanted to be the dude that every time I said I was going to do something, I did it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I still did the trip.
Yeah.
I did it. I haven't done the book yet.
Yeah.
But now I feel like even if I don't have the same desire to make the book, I have to.
Yeah.
Because I said I
you
was.
said you would. Yeah.
And so finding a way to be able to be open and communicate the things and goals that I have, but without putting it out there so much or in a way that I feel like I'm trapped within them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And I think that's very fair. I'll say that, to be honest, I was kind of blown away by, I called every single person the day after and I told them, guys, I'm sorry. Like, I will do everything I said I would, but it's going to take a bit more time. And now, coming from a different line of work with different types of industry, I was fully prepared to hear like some not so nice things. And I was kind of bracing myself for it, to be honest. And none of this happened. Like, everybody was shockingly nice and supportive, to almost to the point that I was like, I was truly surprised by some of what I've heard from some people, and that's, in a way, that was kind of heartwarming because, yeah, it's not what I expected. Mm-hmm. But I think that's fair to say that maybe going forward, like, less promises or more discrete promises is probably an easier way for you to conduct what you have to conduct. And that's why it's funny. I just think of this. When I did my very first 1,000 mile in a day, I never advertised it until it was done, for example. Because I didn't want to put myself in a position that I would start advertising it and then I would have to stop it. And then people would be like, oh, what the hell? He didn't even finish it. And I think it's kind of the same sentiment in a way. Like, give yourself breathing room, like, to do things. Yeah,
sometimes it feels better to say, man, you know, after you've done the 1,000 miles, like, hey, guys, did 1,000 miles today. That was sick.
Yeah, exactly.
As opposed to it's 4 a.m, doing 1,000 miles today, and then you don't do it or whatever. Because then, I mean, it does create a sense of like excitement to see if you get done. Like, for the viewer, like, I want to see if the Curse crew makes 1,000 miles today, right? And then when you're giving the updates all day long, it's fun to follow along on social media. And then if something happens, it's more like, oh, I understand. You know what I mean? But yeah, I guess what I'm getting at is like, I felt very trapped within my own visions that I put out there and expectations. And so when I started trying to like course correct or anything, I felt like I was like cheating on my ideas. You know, it's like, it's a mind fuck of what I feel like I'm even saying, but it's for context to the listeners, like, if you're just jumping on a bike, not just, but if you're going to jump on a bike and go on a bike trip across the country, you're going to have expectations of like what you want to do, see, experience, all that stuff, right? On this side of the table, I think we're doing the same thing, but we also have like some obligations as being a part of the motorcycle industry to do, whether it's photo shoots, make content, or for me, do podcasts. And those obligations have to be part of those other things that you want to do. And so you have to think about all the other stuff going on is what I'm getting at. And it gets kind of difficult and, you know, not trying to woe is me. We're riding across country, you know, like, it's a privilege to do all these things. And that's what I was going to get at with what you just said a while ago. It's like, it's probably hard to be optimistic after a wreck and it's now just trashed all your plans. But there's still this aspect of like, I'm in Sturgis.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
and I'm so glad I forced myself a little bit to go because it ended up being by far the best Sturgis, the best homecoming, and the best trip, I guess you could say, as far as like meeting people, opportunities, interesting conversations, like artistic emulation as a whole. And I would have missed out on so much if I had just crawled back to Brooklyn and kind of like licked my wounds kind of thing. I'm really, and my initial instinct was to do just that. But I'm really happy that I didn't. And I'm really happy that even if it was in a car, I'm really happy that I drove across the US to go see rodeos and meet people, etc. That was my way of trying to make it interesting. And I think that worked pretty well. So yeah, it was really an exercise in style. And it's the first time that usually my plans happen the way I want them to happen. I guess I've always been quite lucky. Mm-hmm. It was the first time that nothing worked and I just had to find, not solution, but just had to find plan Bs on the go. It wasn't perfect. If I had to do it again, there's a few things that I would do differently. But altogether, I think it's as good as it was going to be and the outcome is pretty good.
You know, we talked about this in one of our many conversations we had over the last couple of days. Do you think that, I know that because of the type of personalities I think you and I both share, that when plans go the way we expected, that it's already, we kind of expected this, so it feels good that it happened the way we wanted it to. But what if like you didn't have expectations and so you didn't know where's the ceiling at for this experience? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And if you go into things with like such low expectations, or like go on a trip with basically kind of like you're doing now, where you don't really have an agenda, or you have one deadline. I need to be back in New York by this time. And so you don't know what's going to happen or what's going to be the high or low because you haven't set any expectations.
That's closer to, I guess, the definition of freedom in a way. And I think a lot of my past trips, I set a lot of boundaries and guidelines for myself, whether it's through intense itineraries or places I have to be, people I have to see. And I think this trip, what you just said, like, especially this trip as of a week ago on the Dyna, the other trip was on the car and the rental glides and everything was different. But this trip on the Dyna, my philosophy is just don't say no. And like for example, the Texas Hills guys were like, come to Austin when you're done with Dallas. And I'm like, okay, I'll come to Austin. Mm-hmm. And like these other guys like, yeah, come to North Carolina. Okay, I'll go to North Carolina. So it's and I think it's closer to maybe the ethos of, freedom on the road kind of thing, of also like just being you and your bike and just, you're not trying to crush 1,000 miles. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're just trying to make meaningful connections and learn about people and see things in a more intimate way as what you would. I think like these couple of days we've spent together, to me, are a really good benchmark of what I would like to evolve my motorcycle travels to be a little bit more. Like most of my motorcycle travels, if I look back over the past 6-7 years, I've always been place A, B, C, D, E, very fast, and then like not superficially seeing the local culture, but like not seeing it that deep, not spending much meaningful time maybe with as many people as I could. Oftentimes also being more like on my own or with a very small group of people. I think I probably missed out on embedding myself into culture mm-hmm. in a way. And I think, and we talked about this last year a little bit, like as I mature a little bit, I age a little bit, I think for me, the ideal trip is less so about, 1,000 miles, this and that. That is as 200 or 300 miles a day, finding like great conversation, good people, seeing things through the eyes of the people that live where I am, rather than seeing it on my own and thinking I've discovered something where I've missed a lot of what I could have seen. It's a long-winded answer, but I think I've really started to reshape the way I think of motorcycle trips a little bit. Mm. And the coast to coast will always has its appeal because it's romantic in a way. Yeah. And also the West is just that badass that I love to spend time there. Yeah. But there's beauty everywhere, and if you're on your own, you're probably just gonna miss a lot of things. But saying yes, seeing people, spending time with people, being open to being out of your comfort zone, which for me means meeting people sometimes, because I'm not the most outgoing person necessarily. I think to me that's kind of the next stage of what I would like to do when it comes to this type of trips.
1-800-LAW-TIGERS is a number you need to save in your phone. If you or anyone you know has been in a motorcycle accident, the first call to make is to Law Tigers. Their job is to help you take the proper steps in the unfortunate event of an accident. They have helped many of my personal friends over the years, and they can do the same for you. Across the nation, Law Tigers has been a major supporter of our motorcycles culture and events, and we are excited to have this new partnership here on the Fast Life podcast. Remember, 1-800-LAW-TIGERS. Also, check them out, www.lawtigers.com. Arlen Ness is a one-stop shop for some of the baddest custom motorcycle parts in the industry. I have had the opportunity to ride with many of their products, including their forged wheels, plug-and-play bagger mid-controls, air cleaners, and some of my favorites have been their custom brake calipers. From my bagger to Lowrider ST and now my FXR chopper, Ness has me covered with high-quality parts and accessories to keep me performing and looking badass. If you head on over to www.arlens.com and enter the code FASTLIFE10, you'll save 10% on your purchase. For decades, the Ness family has pushed custom motorcycle culture through innovation and style. So hit the link in the description and check out their vast product catalog to start building your dream motorcycle. Yeah, you couldn't have said it better, man. Like, that's what I've realized when I started traveling across the country on bikes, a long time ago. It was like very short amount of time. And so very tunnel vision, laser focused on getting to the destination.
Yeah.
You're basically just stopping at the state signs to take a picture with the New Mexico sign, the Arizona, the California. And that's really all you got to show for it at the end of the trip. And then once you've done the trip and you feel what it feels like to be on the road, then I think that over time, for myself, I've been able to slow down more and more and more and more, because you just kind of like see things and opportunities, and I want to see where that road goes. And I'd really like to hang out with this person in their area. It's like, I mean, realistically, how often do you think people get to be like, to do like kind of what maybe we've done is like, hey, let me just show you where we go.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, this is where I go. I mean, there's a lot of cool spots in Dallas, but this is where I go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just being, like you said, embedded into someone else's world as a way of being a student, like we were talking about before we turned the microphones on, where it's like, I want to be here. Like, that's what when I go to New York, that's what I want. Yeah. I don't want to try to figure out where to go eat. I want the people there to tell, like, what vibe are you want? And I'm like, man, I just like chill stuff. Gotcha. Let's go. Like, that's what you want. I want to be in their culture. You know what I mean?
It's funny because, before doing marketing, I did a bachelor in sociology. And sociology is the study of people. Yeah. And I think I've always been fascinated by that, but always in a very bookworm kind of way. Yeah. Like, I've read a lot about it, but not doing it necessarily myself. I've always had this kind of guardrail between me and people a little bit. Maybe that comes from the black metal stuff where you always standoffish and distant. I don't know. But I've always been somewhat standoffish. And not standoffish because it comes across wrong. Like, just like, a little bit
reserved.
Reserved. Yes, that's the way. That's the word I'm looking for. And I think even I was looking at the book that you showed me from Todd, what's his last name?
Blue Ball.
Tom Blue. Like, this interaction that he has in the book where, like, he talks to the gas station clerk for like 15 minutes, and he talks to this random dude that has a random flag in his yard, and he learns about, like, that's the type of stuff I would never, ever, ever do. And even if these people came to me and started a conversation, I would not engage much. And I think with time, I want to try to do more things like that. So that even something that's as superficial as a 15-minute encounter at a gas station or a 2-day with you in Texas, I think I see them both as the same opportunity to try to really, share something meaningful or not with someone, but live with a deeper appreciation for the place I'm in and the people that are in there. Whereas in the past, I would just be go, go, go. And at the end, I would maybe see pretty things, but I would miss out on the culture that surrounds these things. Yeah. And that book, I think, like, I haven't finished it, but like the half I've read this morning, what really made an impression on me, especially on that front, like the fact that he is able to connect with so many different people in so many different ways. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, that book was impactful for me whenever I found it. And, I've tried to implement as much of the ideas in it as possible. I'm very I can be standoffish too, you know, but like when I'm in a comfortable space, I'm very open and, you know, hey, check this out. Watch this, you know, but like I'm still not really the person that's probably going to engage too much in that conversation with the gas station store clerk. You know, I might pass a couple words back and forth, but I'm not going to just put my groceries down and say, so, man, what's the weather like out here? Like I'm probably not that way yet.
Yeah.
But I think that over time, I think I will. I think maybe with age, you get to a point where, you know, we're kind of similar in age. So it's like, man, I've lived half my life in this way. Well, what if I change some things about the way I view the world and the way that I interact with the world to see if life would also feel different?
Yes. Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then, you know, honestly, like through the aspect of photography, that's probably been the most awakening that I've had in like those kind of things is understanding, you know, talking with Brian Helm and Todd and you know, Josh Kerpius and you know, Tim O'Keefe and these guys that I'm all extremely inspired by. You know, you find that like their connection to people is what gets them access to shoot what I'm in love with. And so I'm looking at it like a technical thing. Like I have the camera, there's the person. How do I get that shot? And it's not as much technical as it is psychological. Yeah. You know, knowing, you know, it's really hard to explain, but it's like that's the difference between it all. They have a connection to a photo that means something to them, and you're looking at it like, yeah, I don't get it, man. But to them, they're like, dude, this, you know, for me, this is what the photo does. This is what it represents. And I think that's just like a connection to the art that they're creating and a testament to the integrity of it, because they could easily just turn down that picture of that person or that bike or whatever and go right over there to those massive titties and take a picture of those, and it's going to do way better on all platforms. For sure. That's very true.
I think that's kind of what I'm trying to evolve a little bit when it comes to photography, because I think a lot of what I used to do was very staged. A lot of what I used to do was very anonymous as well. It's a lot of, even not about me, but helmets and people hiding themselves behind their bikes and their helmets. And recently in this trip, actually, before the Street Glide mishap, when I was posting about the day, I was actually doing like 10 or 15 photos, and most of the photos were just random snippets of gas station moments and people, some of my friends eating food or joking around. And I was like, this is the type of stuff I want to try to incorporate more. And I think obviously I have access to them because I know them very well, but the capacity of being able to generate that same kind of connection with strangers so that they will open up enough to let you snag a photo that has soul, I guess, is something that I don't think I could do now, but I would strive to at some point be able to do. And some of these photos in these books and the other books that you've been showing me, you can clearly see through the eyes of you can see the soul of these people in a way. And it's harder than I think taking photos of people with helmet is actually very simple. I think, and I think the next level for me is to try to take real portraits,
and capture emotions,
whether it's through motion, which I've done a lot this year, or through that new level, which is actually portraits, people, faces, gestures, interactions of a couple, etc. And that's something I want to do more of for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you and I both. I mean, it's. I think it's a, you know, a goal or maybe a somewhat dream of mine is to be able to go out, like some of the books I've shown you, and just hang out at a shop or a person's place with them knowing that I want to capture and photograph a lot of the everyday things that they're doing without having to tell them, like, because I don't know that if it's for anything. Like, maybe this is just like a passion project of like, I want to go capture this and maybe something can come out of the other end. It goes back to what we were talking about, like, not trying to put all these expectations on the table to the other people. Like, hey, I want to come and just kind of follow you around and photograph you for some time. And, you know, I'm not trying to not exist in the moment. Like, I want to talk to you, but I'd love to just watch you work and photograph you, you know, ask you some questions, get to know you in that manner. Because at first they're going to pose. I mean, you pull a camera out on me, I'm going to like, oh, how, you know, I'm going to pose for a minute. But after a while, we said this last night at dinner, after a while, both you and I will get comfortable with that camera existing between us, and things will start to get natural.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at first, it's shock.
It's a little bit, for sure.
You know? And so that's kind of like the trust the process kind of thing. Is it like you just kind of have to do it. And then my wife told me this a while back, and I might have said it on the podcast many times, but I really credit her to this because it was helpful for me of getting over the anxiety of pulling a camera out to shoot people or things. And she just said, we appreciate it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, man, that's awesome, because I never thought of it that way. I thought of it very maybe egotistical. Like, I wonder if they think I'm a good photographer. I wonder if they think that, like that imposter syndrome comes into play, right? And so when she said that, it made me feel like, oh, well, like I'm the one creating all these expectations and this thing, this narrative that doesn't technically exist in my head, and it's making me very self-conscious about pulling my camera out and taking pictures of things, And then I would try to figure out ways to do it, but like remove myself from the situation. Like I'm gonna put headphones in so no one will talk to me. So
you've done that? Yeah,
I've done it, but I thought it. I felt like, man, like I shouldn't. I shouldn't cut myself off. I should just say, hey, I did. It was an experiment I did, and once again, I've already said this 100 times to you. I have a whole like album of shots I did from this, but Terry Shanks is a knife maker. He moved from Dallas. He's now in Arizona, but he lives in Dallas. And I got to meet him through a mutual friend. And he was on one of the episodes of the Momoa thing that we talked about last night. And literally Todd Blueboss shot a lot of the film and the photos for that. And some of the most epic shots of my man just like hitting forging these knives and beating them with hammers, and just fucking so cool, right? So I got to meet Terry Shanks, and we started hanging out, and we became pretty close friends. Well, then I'm like, hey man, I really want to just come hang out while you're working. And I got some of my favorite photos of that interaction. But he knew that I was going to be there taking pictures of him. And so he just did his thing. He was telling me stories, and I was shooting him while I was telling the stories. And like, I can show you the whole album. In the beginning of the album, I'm very far away.
Yeah, and then you get close. Yeah.
And then I got closer, and I got some shots of him that if I was to put a portfolio together, they would be in it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's funny because I was literally, before you said that piece about getting closer, my mind was going through a similar vein of like, I used to think that being a photographer was to hide yourself behind the camera, and that's why also like long lenses, because you don't need to get so close to people. But I think the real magic happens on the 15 to 35 when you're very close, and when you've built a relationship that it's okay to be that close, and that you can really start to really show the people for what they really are, basically. And I never shoot at 15 to 35, but I should. And I think that's what street photography is so interesting, because it forces you to kind of get close to people and ask them to take pictures of them, etc. Which,
it's tough.
It's tough,
but it's also a good exercise for like getting out of your existential recluseness, if that makes sense.
Totally. And that's what it's been for me this year since the last podcast we did. Like, I consciously force myself, whether it's in the race world or like with my friends or with people I randomly meet, to kind of like engage much more, take pictures, but also like initiate friendships, etc., and be more just open to people. And it's been very gratifying. It's one of the most gratifying thing I think I've done this year. It's really just be more open to things and opportunities and people, and be, like you said, a student of whatever it is they're doing. Like I met this guy upstate New York who welds his things in his shop, and we spent like 30 minutes, 45 minutes with him because he was fixing something on my friend's bike, and I took photos of him doing it, and I was asking him how he's doing it, etc. And that was a very random interaction, but like I left this place being like, okay, this was super cool, and now we chat quite a bit, and he wants to do something for my bike because my bike always needs work. So yeah, it's these connections are like, they're great, and I'm glad that I'm doing this more. I think I missed out on these opportunities over the past 4 or 5 years, but now I'm looking at things quite differently.
Well, I think it's like a testament to you and your photography and how short-lived it's been, you know, which is a compliment because like it's so well and so good and so thoughtful. I also like the fact that you want a lot of lenses and a lot of big cameras, but you do it with a modest like version of a camera. It's still a badass camera, one of my favorites. Or wait, no, you had the EOS R first, right?
I had the M50.
Oh, that's right.
That's
what
M50.
it was. Yeah.
For the longest time, I only had 2 cameras. I had the M50 with a 50 prime. That was it for a year, and I had a like small telephoto, like I think it's the 55 to 220 or something,
Okay,
like a very cheap telephoto, but it's kind of actually really cool. I had that, then did away with that, and I have my current setup, which is R6 Mark II, 24-105 f4, which is 90% of my shots, and then the 100 to 500 when it's not busted. So that's my current setup. I would love, since I've tried your 7200 2.8, I'm like, oh, this is a good lens.
Well, that's what I'm getting at is like, I love the fact that, and this is what I did. I mean, it's kind of good now because I have all the equipment, but I got so gear conscious where I felt like everything to get better and better, I needed more and more.
Yeah.
And so I was always buying shit. And it was through buying new lenses that made me want to shoot more. But until I found that book and started diving down the photography books and buying the magazines that are more photography centric, I would probably just still be trying to buy more shit for photography.
Yeah.
So I have, other than the 100 and 500 that I actually consulted with you about before I bought, I haven't been purchasing any camera equipment because I have the tools. Now I need to do the work.
Yeah.
And I think so, myself included, was like this for so long. But some of the best photographers out there, like Tim O'Keefe, Todd Blueboss was shooting when we did a podcast with the same 5D Mark II that Tim O'Keefe shot with in 2024 when I was talking to him.
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost a 20-year-old digital camera, and they're getting amazing things. So it's like, yeah, I need to stop thinking that the tools are going to make me a better photographer and start being a better photographer by doing what we talked about before this, getting connections, finding a way to get access to people and things. And I think that's the part of photography that if we were to make a YouTube video about it, 5 things to make you a better photographer. You need to get close to people and be personable. Like, none of that shit sounds salacious and fun.
Yeah.
You know, it sounds like an anxiety attack.
No, so for real. And it's funny. My brother is a professional photographer.
I saw his work last night.
He's much better than I'll ever be. He shoots on a 5D, and like that's it, and he crushes it. So I completely subscribe.
Which a 5D, like you can get the most latest version of a 5D, which is a full frame Canon camera. I mean, I've seen these cameras going for like $500, or less.
And I'm like, dude, at your level, you could upgrade. Like, you should upgrade most likely. And he's like, nah, I'm good, I'm fine. He rents lenses from time to time for different shoots. But I agree. And I'm always looking at marketplace and lenses and stuff. But I force myself to not buy anything. And I've realized that the stuff I buy, I've never bought lenses I don't use. I only have two lenses, the ones I mentioned. But I did buy the DJI Osmo Pocket 3 recently.
Nice.
And I don't use it. And I must use it because it is very impressive. That thing can do a lot of things. But I'm just like, it just doesn't come natural for me. I'm so focused on the camera that it just doesn't come natural for me to bust it and start filming with it and everything.
Yeah.
And it's funny, my buddy Tim from Tim Holland from Fit for an Autopsy.
Tim Halley?
Yes, Holly, sorry. Did buy that same camera a year ago, the DJI Pocket 3, and him and I were riding in Sturgis, and he said the exact same thing. He's like, I have it, but I never use it. And I think this idea of always getting more gear for more things at the end of the day is not necessarily.
I bought that same one, that DJI Osmo Pocket 3. I bought it in like April of last year because it's a really cool camera and it's really good. But I found myself the same way. Like I just couldn't find a way to use it effectively for the way that I operate.
Yeah.
So I actually sold it to my buddy Rennie from Easy Rider Cycle, and he's been actually using it and making some content on YouTube with it, which is fucking perfect because that's what needs to happen with that great tool. But I found that like for me, like not a GoPro, but kind of the same thing as a GoPro, the DJI Action 5 is what I use. I've just like all the YouTube videos I've been doing lately is all with that. I've been trying not to use my big camera.
For the YouTube stuff?
Only use that camera.
Because you have, I remember we talked about it, like when I considered buying it. I did buy it, by the way, and I don't use it. The gimbal, the RS3 Pro or something.
Yeah.
So I will use it. It's just such a production. Like
Yes.
I've used it for a few videos I've done with FX DLS Brooklyn. Like we wanted to do professional-ish. And so I busted the gimbal, but it just takes me 10 minutes to set it up. And it's just, do you use it or?
I've used it a couple times, but like I said, the reason why I have to stick with the DJI, like the GoPro style camera to make videos right now is that I can get so deep and nerd out on trying to create cinematic stuff with like the equipment that I have that I lose context of the point.
I see.
So I have a cool shot that has nothing to do with anything going on.
Yeah.
Right. So in my opinion, it's like I'm still in such a learning phase of doing YouTube videos. I'm trying to be better with speaking on camera. I'm trying to get better with articulating my ideas as concisely as possible so that I'm not tripping on my words and saying like and you know what I'm saying, and fucking you know what I mean, like getting it out there, saying it. And I feel like once I get better at that, because I know that it's the other end of time plus effort equals results, right? So I'm trying to just do that and stay making some kind of videos and not get so hung up right now on like what I could do.
Yeah.
You know, because in my head I know that I could do it, but I don't think it's gonna make or break things right now. And I think I need to be better on camera before I start nerding out so much on trying to make it look so perfect.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. I mean, you got the most important part dialed in. You have the sex resort and all of that good stuff. So that's what the viewer wants to see. It's like I think your videos were pretty cool because they were very I guess they are very genuine and authentic to the trip. Like I think it didn't look very like it looked very much like genuine to what was happening in a way.
Yeah, there was no staging of anything.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. Like sometimes when you produce things, you lose that kind of connection, authenticity. Everything looks very staged. I think your videos looked very like exactly how a trip is supposed to go, which I think has a lot of interest for me at least. It's always a tricky thing. Like when you try to overproduce things, then everything becomes a little bit like for me. Every time I see a beautiful shot of like some dude doing YouTube at a higher level of edits, for example, and it's like the camera is already in the hotel room, and he's opening the door and getting into the hotel room. Every time I see this, I'm like, okay, this is kind of cool, but also it's so very, very staged, for example. And like, or the same shots of like him riding on an empty road, and there's a lot of stuff that makes me think, okay, it's very set up and it's less to me it loses a bit of the authenticity. I think it's a fine line, obviously, to walk. Well, also I don't do YouTube, so I don't.
As you all know, off-road lighting has become a huge deal in the motorcycle scene. But as those trends rise, so has enforcement of DOT regulations. You don't want to be stuck out on hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in lighting that will get you pulled over, fined, and possibly have your motorcycle impounded. Custom Dynamics has the solution with their Shark Demon headlight, which is designed for motorcycles and is available for all current Harley-Davidson models, as well as various sizes for custom applications, along with turn signals for the Road Glide applications, all DOT compliant and still offering that badass look and visibility you're after. Custom Dynamics has been providing custom lighting solutions to the motorcycle world for over 20 years. A small company and team based out of North Carolina, offering some of the best customer service in the industry. So check out their website at www.customdynamics.com and don't hesitate to hit the link in the description below and hit up the Custom Dynamics team with any questions regarding your bike's lighting upgrades. Located in South Austin, Cowboy Harley-Davidson has become a hub for killer events and provides a place for the motorcycle community to call home. Cowboy Harley has something for you every weekend of the month. On the first Saturday, they will host a cars and coffee style meet and hang. Then on the second Saturday, it's Ink and Iron, a local artist show where tattooers, painters, pinstripers, and all artists are welcome to come showcase their work and art. The third Saturday of each month features a bike show with a different bike category every month, offering a $500 gift card for the top prize. Finally, the fourth week of the month will have a Thursday night bike night. Check them out at www.cowboyharleyaustin.com and give them a follow on Instagram at cowboyhdaustin. Well, yeah, that concept, that whole like setting up the shot and, like you said, putting the camera in the hotel room and then walking in and throwing all your stuff down, like it does create like context to a video, but that at that point you're acting.
Exactly. That's exactly.
And so that for me, which I think I've done that. I mean, literally earlier this year, or like the end of last year, or earlier this year, I did a video. I did 2 videos, and these 2 videos were all big cameras. I set up my big camera in my van, and I'm driving to work telling, so today we're going to do this, blah, blah, blah. And then I got to work. I took the camera out and set it up and then drove the van off and then came back and pulled into the thing and then stuck the camera in the shop and opened the door. And it's like all these different things for like a 20-second like sequence, which looked cool, but I don't think that the videos I'm making right now that fits into that world. Right now, like the type of videos I think connect to like what I'm doing is just a diary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like the one that I just put out, like with working on the bike, trying to get it done. Like there was a lot of ups and downs in that process. And so on the downs, I didn't record, so I had to find a way to convey the emotion in a recap and use what I had and kind of piece together stuff. I looked at that whole video, the one I just put out, as more of a learning curve of like, how can I salvage an unfinished video? And I think that FXDLS Brooklyn, like when y'all did that video with me last year in Sturgis, I thought it was uniquely nice to see how you guys put content together and how he created that video with the context about me and things like that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, that actually made me feel more like, okay, I saw how that sauce was made. So now I kind of feel like, okay, I'm more open to doing different things and not feeling like I have to be Peter McKinnon, or stuff like that. So I love making videos, but I love taking photos, and I find that I have a hard time doing both at the same time.
That's what I've realized, because I intend at some point to do more video, and I've started to dabble with it a little bit. And FXDLS Brooklyn has been really pushing me to start a YouTube channel, which the channel exists, but it has 5 shorts on it, and that's it. But hopefully in a year from now, I'll have done a few things on that. And if I haven't, send me a DM to say what the fuck. But I think, my intention was to do video stuff on this trip, and I didn't do any.
Yeah.
Like I can't. It's hard to do both, and I feel also that when you do video, you really have to think more about like photos, you can always patch together and find some kind of red thread to a story you're telling.
Yeah.
I think video, like if you're not intentional in what you shoot and how you shoot it, it's very hard to have a cohesive approach at the end. And at least from my few experimentations, I've never been happy with really what I have done, so I never end up using it.
You had to shoot everything.
Yeah, exactly. Which
can kind of suck sometimes, because it feels like you're being, like you're hijacking maybe a great moment.
Yeah. I can see that.
You know, like say last night we were at dinner and Ramon shows up and we're all sitting out there. If I just whipped out the camera, all right, guys, we're here. Another espresso martini. It's a good time. And, you know, like even though maybe there's not a lot of context to that, but it's still given. Like when I come back to edit, now I have something in that space to kind of
contextualize
continue the story down the line. So like the trip I did, I had to be that way the whole time. Be conscious of that.
Yeah.
If I pulled the camera out to shoot something, I had to, hey, all right, so I found this great spot on the backside of the Griffith Observatory. I got a good shot to downtown Los Angeles.
I know
I got the
exactly
100, 500. I'm going to go try to get some shots out of this.
Yeah.
So you have to be mindful to do that shit. And then, you know, shoot the photos.
Yeah.
And there was plenty of times where like I'd like didn't record something and I was like, man, I wish I would have recorded that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm glad I got the sex motel.
That was money.
But you know, like I said, you have to think about it. Like you said, it's to your point too. What you just said was something that it made me remember. I've got I'll show you my toolbox at home. I've got like 20 fucking GoPros. Well, not 20. I got like 6 GoPros. I would buy a GoPro every year. This year, I'm going to start doing a YouTube channel from 2018 until 2023, because that's the first year I actually finally made a YouTube video. I would buy a GoPro and I would do a bike trip and I would start filming. And then the second day I stopped.
Yeah.
And I would never do anything else. And then, you know, it just, you have to, when you go make a bike trip or do a bike trip or do a bike thing with the expectations to capture it, you kind of have to have an expectation, you know?
And that's where I give like people like FX DLS Brooklyn or even Cody from the Iron Pony show that I was writing with a little bit, a lot of credit, because like they're super consistent at their capture. Like Alex, FX DLS Brooklyn, like I've obviously written a lot with him. Like since the day I've met him, like he never let go. Like he's always on it. He's always like thinking of what do I need to capture. And at first, to be honest, I was like, wow, that's a lot. But like to your point, that's what, if you're gonna do this right, that's what you need to do. Yeah. And at first, it was very foreign to me. I was like, we don't need to film ourselves eating pancakes. Well, actually, it makes some good footage.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it's just a very different mindset, I think.
When you're around people that's also either playing into it with you, or they're also doing a version of it for themselves, it does kind of get a little bit easier to be the person to pull it out, the camera out. But at the same time, like that's, if I'm going on a bike trip across the country and some friends are going, but they don't do anything like that, I just tell them, like, look, this is what I have to do, and I would appreciate it. You know, if you guys want to be a part of it, to go with the flow. Mm-hmm. If I need to stop and get these shots, you know, I appreciate it if you didn't get pissed, you know? So finding the right people to stay in that groove with is important too. But I wish that sometimes I had more, careful what I wish for. There's times I wish I had someone here more at the shop that I could bounce video stuff with. Like, all right, today so-and-so and I are in the shop. We're going to mess with this. And like, he might film me a little bit while I'm doing something. It's kind of what Thrashing does. They pass around one GoPro and everybody films each other, and then they get this footage, right? Or the same thing with like Cruzy and Trent out there. But I'm alone all day long. So I kind of have to set the tripod up and well, guys, it's Tuesday. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, when you're alone, everything becomes much harder, for sure. Especially for videography, I think.
Yeah, it's difficult, man. But it's also like it's difficult, but so many people do it, and a lot of people do it very well. And if they can do it, I got to figure out how to do it.
Fair.
You know? And so I think that we're all looking for that cheat code.
Yeah.
This has got to be easy. And it's not, but it does get easier.
The more you do it.
You know what I mean? And that's kind of where I'm trusting the process. Like, I know that if I keep doing this, it will get easy.
So, like, what's the next big video for you? Like, Born Free? Or
getting this chopper done for Born Free. I filmed, and this is the problem, I filmed all with the big camera, us doing the hardtail on this bike. And my buddy Devin, Loudmouth Devin, he helped film B-roll shots. And so when I got home and I put all the files in the computer to start looking at like what I had to do to make the video, I was just overwhelmed with clips.
Yeah.
So I just kind of like, I got there's a complete story there. I just need to really separate everything and organize all the video footage, go through and listen to all the dialogue and figure out what works and doesn't work and put that out. That's the next video. And then yesterday when I was at Corey's and we were doing the gas tank, I filmed all that, obviously with just the little GoPro deal. So I want to put a couple videos together, or at least 1 or 2 or 3 of the process of building this chopper the same way I just did. And I'm not trying to keep up with a weekly drop. I'm just trying to do the work on the bike and then capture it and then put something out on it. But the project I want is the trip after Born Free that I've talked to you about. That's the one that I really, in a perfect world, would be on that chopper. That would be, right now, that's kind of a bucket list thing for me. And it's, the more I talk about it, the more it's like, I feel it boil into me. Like, I'm so excited to do it, you know?
And do you think that by then you would still do it like GoPro iPhone style? Yeah.
I would do it GoPro. It's just easier to capture the footage that way.
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to carry a big camera around and video yourself as opposed to the GoPro style. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
But I would probably try to mix some more cinematic shots in there not cinematic shots. What I want to do with all the videos is figure out how to incorporate my photography and what I do for a living as far as like the paint work and the customizing bikes and some lifestyle into it. So it's all like you feel like you're getting a glimpse inside this world or whatever and some perspective. You know, the YouTube video is the teaching.
Yeah.
Even though I don't want to be the teacher, I just need to be I just need to show you what I'm doing. I'm not trying to say it's the right way or the wrong way or the only way. Just this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know? But that's cool. The plan. What about you? Like is
for you, I mean, as
just
far
in
as
general, like, I mean, what are you hoping to, I mean, you got some great opportunities with photography right now. Like, you know, shooting some Harley stuff, some other brands. Lindahl, I think, is one, you know.
The photography thing has been, I'll start with the photography thing quick. Yes, there's been lots of amazing opportunities. I'm super grateful. Definitely the racing world is where I want to do much more and keep focusing my efforts on. Like, I think just to me, back when we talked a year ago, I had never been to a racetrack, and I ended up going at the last race of the last season, 2024 in New Jersey, and that completely blew my mind. It felt like the day I discovered metal. Like, it felt like the first time I listened to Metallica.
Oh, the first time you went and shot racing?
Yeah, I was just blown away by like everything. Everywhere I looked was amazing. Everything looked so cool, so rad, and so it was one of my big objectives this year to kind of find a way to get into this world and to shoot that world a little bit more. At first, I just did it on my own, and now I've been lucky that the Lindahl M3 Tobacco Harley team has been like cool with me to be like, yeah, you can come and shoot with us, etc. So now I'm kind of working with them for the last few races of the season. So I'll be in Coda and I'll be back in New Jersey with them. And I think really like that's been super gratifying to shoot more motion stuff, shoot like all kinds of different things, like the paddock stuff, everything. It's been a great learning opportunity and a great way to discover a world from the inside with the people that are making that world come to life. Other than that, for photography, I think it's, like we said, more portraits, more people and everything. Videography-wise, I have this commitment to myself that by the end of this year, I will have put up a couple of YouTube videos, and they will probably not perform. I think what I want to do is not what would perform the most.
Yeah, we'll do it for yourself, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of my mantra, is like, I want to try to do like, take a song that I really, really love, and overlay images of the motorcycle world, but not only that, maybe also like other things, and cut like a music video that would be the best of what I could do with my limited knowledge of editing for video, but I know a few things. And I would like to do that consistently. Like if I could put like once a month, like a 5-minute music video to a song that I really love, and being able to capture the emotion of the song through the footage that I'll put together and illustrate that song through the footage I'll put together, I would consider this a big victory and achievement for me. I think we talked very briefly about filmmakers that I love. So Terrence Malick, Darren Aronofsky, these guys that have a very visual universe where sound and images are intimately intertwined together. I think that's the type of things I would strive for on YouTube. So very, very far from the typical moto vlogger or the typical motorcycle thing.
Yeah.
I think motorcycle would definitely be a part of it because it's my center of interest and it's how VonGasphalt come to life online. So it would be the through line of everything, of course. But deeper than that, I think it would be trying to bring to life that raw emotion of that song in a visual way that would be enticing to me. And I probably realistically don't have the skills to do what I aspire to do. So I think the first few videos will not be that great. They'll be as good as I can be. I see them in my head. I know the songs and I know what I want to do. Question mark on whether or not I'll be able to pull it off. But when I come home sometime in September, I want to dedicate time to this and really like spend the time. Don't take the camera with me, my traditional camera. Take the DJI or whatever I end up doing, and try to. And maybe I'll shoot with my camera actually because it's a great camera for shooting too. And try to start putting something like this together. It's probably very ambitious versus the level of my current skills, and so knowing myself and never being satisfied with what I do, there's a high likelihood that I won't put it out because I will be like, this is not as good as it must be to be put out. But I think that's where I have to force myself to actually put it out. But yeah, we'll see. But that's, for me, that's the next frontier. And I'm also, like I said, very conscious that this is not typically the type of content that performs on YouTube, but that's the content I want to make. So we'll see.
Well, yeah, it kind of goes hand in hand with I think the first conversation you and I kind of kicked off when you got here to town was, if we only do the things that perform, then how will evolution ever take place in our deal? Because, like we were saying this before, it's like in order for culture to shift, whether it's like photography or videography or capturing, YouTubing on motorcycling, someone has to do something different, and it's got to feel foreign. And it's almost like people might not like it at first because it's not what they're used to. But it's kind of like every time iPhone comes out with a new, things are different. Like the shit doesn't work the way it worked on the old operating system, and then you quickly adapt to it because it does end up being better. It becomes an evolution of what it was. Whether it's better or not is completely up to the user, right, and their experience with it. Well, that's the thing about like creating stuff. But if all we do is always make the same shit that everybody else is doing, but we're doing it different because we're all different. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to move the needle, and people aren't going to grow. So
I agree. You know what? It's funny because when I think of these emotional motorcycle music videos, there's one that actually comes to mind, which I don't know how well known that video is, but it's a video that Curpius actually put on YouTube like 10 or 11 years ago. And it's just that one song that is very monotonous. I think it's called Ride the Locust. And it just cuts footage on it. And it's not really overproduced or anything, but it has such a strong vibe to it, and it has just such a strong emotional intensity to it that I don't think this video did really well necessarily, but I just remember when I first saw it, I was like, oh wow, that is very different from what everybody has done, and I would not do it this way. I would have some time of different types of edits and everything, but I think like trying to convey emotion through motorcycle related footage online would be really cool. Not that it doesn't exist. Some people already do it very well. Like I don't mean to say that no one does emotional motorcycle content, because there's a lot of great emotional motorcycle content online. I think to me it's just the balance between music and visuals and how integrated both can be that I would love to really focus on the most. We'll see. It will take some of the. I actually want to shoot a few things in Dallas because there's a few monuments in Dallas that I would like to have. We talked about the Thanksgiving Chapel, which is one of the most beautiful monuments I think in Dallas. But yeah, I think if you ever look at a Terrence Malick movie, specifically Hidden Life, The Tree of Life, or The Thin Red Line, that is also very famous, you'll see his type of editing is insane. And I would never, obviously, remotely even think that I could be 5% as good as he is. But I think that type of editing, like thousands of different cuts put together in a very flowy way and a very ethereal way almost, is the type of things that I think you need to accumulate an insane amount of footage at first to then just be able to do a massive patchwork that somehow is going to become coherent, but at first may not be coherent. And I think what brings the coherence is also the music and the emotion of the music. And you cut it, like he has this amazing scene of, he takes the Moldau by Smetana, who is a very famous classical song, and he overlays footage on top of it that flows the way the song flows. It's a very flowy, I mean, I don't know how to describe it. Anyways, it's just insanely beautiful. And I would strive to recreate at a very different skill level, something like that. That would be awesome.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. I mean, that's being inspired. And wanting to go out and channel that inspiration, but through like the way you see it.
Yeah.
And with your experience and to the music you love. That's classic textbook inspiration. You know, being inspired by something and wanting to be proactive about being a creator of some, sort. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've noticed this about you that like I thought that I actually think is cool. Like you plan big.
Yeah.
Like when you were telling me about the ideas of shooting the urban cowboys.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're like, well, I want to do this on like a massive street and block everything off and get the bikes and the cowboys and have them like, flank each other. And I'm like, I'm seeing it in my head, like you're explaining it to me. I'm like, yeah, that's going to be sick. I'm like, but then the practical side of my brain's like, how are you going to get like access to the street? How are you going to get this? How are you going to get that? Like, and it's overwhelming to me. I'm like, I ain't going to fuck with it. But no, I love that you think that way.
I plan big, but I don't always deliver, to be honest. Yeah. Like I shoot very high, and then I end up sometimes missing the mark. But at least it's as high as it's going to be.
Yeah.
I think specifically for that specific idea, at first I wanted to do it in New York, and like I looked into the complexities of bringing a horse into Manhattan, and just that is already overwhelming. Like you do not bring a horse into Manhattan easily.
Yeah.
so then
where you park a horse trailer.
Yeah, exactly. And because my idea originally was to do it in Grand Central, and I was like Grand Central, the horse riding, the bike flanking. I was like, it's gonna be the sickest shots. But then I was like, I don't know, like, so it may end up that at the end it will just be like in a field, but it will still be cool. I like that's one of my strengths and one of my weaknesses. I dream very big, and sometimes I struggle to achieve the vision, and then I get like underwhelmed by whatever I put out, and I end up not putting it out. And like there's a lot of stuff that I have on my computer that will never see light of day because it is not what I thought it should be originally. And maybe I should have a little bit more grace with myself and just release more things.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like, even when I was playing a lot of music and everything, like it's just releasing something was always a big deal for me. And so
it's a huge vulnerability.
Yes, exactly. And especially when you spend so much time on something, like a photo is a photo, it's fine. Like a track, an album, an EP is maybe for you a paint job. Like we're talking like hundreds of hours or like a significant amount of time. For you to release something that takes that much of you creatively in the world is a big vulnerability. And there's a lot of demos and stuff that I never released for that exact reason. Not that I don't think they were great, but just I was like, I don't know. And it's always easier in a band because in a band there's more of you, and therefore there's the collective force of the band. And so when you play in a band, it's easier. But a lot of the stuff I recorded was like what you would call one-man bands, and therefore it's me doing everything.
Yeah.
And that is where like the true vulnerability piece comes, because it's 100% you. Everything is you, for better and worse.
Yeah, you can't deflect any of that failure or perceived failure onto anybody else.
Yeah.
Like it's the grunt of your, like you have to take all that, right?
Exactly.
No, 100%. That's kind of what it feels sometimes like when I think you make a YouTube video, like for me at least, because I'm not that good at it, like as far as editing and even shooting and a lot of stuff, you'll do a video where you spend, like I did 2 videos earlier this year, and those 2 videos, like one of them doing the shop tour video, I wasn't really great at my delivery of talking about the different things. So in order to get past all my insecurities about the video, try to make the best piece of work as I could, and then put it out, is like this massive amount of vulnerability, you know? And fortunately, like I feel like a lot of, at least in my world, because I don't like put things out there as like a matter of fact, I try not to be so polarizing might be the wrong word. I'm not trying to like make statements. Mm-hmm. This is how you do it. We run this here.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to make people feel like they have to choose my side or another. I just want to expose them of what is here, right? So I don't get a lot of negative comments and feedback on my YouTube unless it's literally just some stupid shit I said on a podcast or something on a podcast, right? So fortunately, that vulnerability of putting something like that out there, it's really only met with positive reinforcement of like with the comments and the people that did watch it. But then there's always that number, that view count or that like or that whatever that has so much power psychologically over us to our worth.
For sure.
You know? And that's where, remember I asked you, I don't know if it was last night or the night before, like, would you rather Harley repost your work, or would you rather Harley like do a showing of your work at the art museum or the Harley Davidson museum? I
mean, it wouldn't be a question. Like 1,000%, I would rather they have it at the museum.
You know, so there's like this point where like I think that's goes into a lot of the conversations that you and I have had over the last 2 days, which I'm sorry guys, we're referring to that a lot here, but that's why I'm so like really wanting to find ways to show the world the things that I create or you create or anybody creates with removing the screen in front of you and the fact that you can only see it this size. I mean, like you sitting here in the studio and seeing this photo behind me and the one behind you, it's like, I mean, you were like staring at the one behind you of Curpius and looking in the reflection of the primary. Yeah. And I'm like, and you can see you. I was like, I never even noticed that. But to me, like seeing it on that scale is like so much better to me. That's why my house is full of big pictures, you know? Hell, when I piss every day, I have that 6 over poster. And the reason it's there is because there's 3 photo shots that I love. And they're all photos that I never would think to take.
Yeah, that poster is great, by the way.
Yeah,
that's super cool. And I don't know what the movie is about or anything, but
the same guy that made 21 Days Under the Sky, he made that first, and it's kind of it's really hard to watch. It's not hard to watch like it's not good. It's hard to physically find it because you can't buy it. And Dice Magazine kind of owns the rights to it, and every once in a while they'll release it in a way you can watch it on like YouTube or whatever or something. It's complicated. It used to be on like Prime and Netflix or something like that a long time ago, but it's a really cool documentary too. Really cool. I mean, whenever
it's available.
If I could ever get my hands on it, I'd spend over $100 to get it, like in one way or another, because I do love it. I own the 21 Days, which is also hard to get. Yeah. So they sold it on Amazon once, like on a Prime.
Yeah, you bought it at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's smart.
But yeah, so like finding a way to get to where people can interact with, like, whether it's the motorcycles or the photography or the art or just the interactions of people, like without that value added to like some counter next to a video or a picture or a song or whatever, you know what I mean?
Because that's why you're gonna have to put this halter together.
Yeah, well, you're gonna probably have to help now because you already offered.
I would help for sure. I would love to. That would be super cool. No, I mean, it's funny because I've never printed my own things until recently. Actually, and we've talked about this last year. Like through your input, actually, you were the driving force that got me to actually start printing anything, based on one comment that you put on one photo once. And since then, I've printed a fair amount. And since then, people have hit me up and say, "Hey, could you print for me that photo you took of me?
Yeah.
And I've realized recently, actually, I've done quite a few of these one-offs where like just someone likes the photo and then they send me photos of my own print in their living rooms, etc.
Yeah,
And that's very rad and almost humbling in many ways. That's
really
you
cool.
know, your
Yeah.
photo is in somebody's living room. Spoiler thing, 2 of my prints are in FXDLS parents' living room,
Nice.
which is also always makes me smile. It's the most gratifying thing you could really think of. I am in actually one of the photos, so literally I am in their living room, which is insane. But like, yeah, we've been really forced to look at photography through such a narrow lens, vertical shots, Instagram. Like it would be great to be able to break that apart a little bit and go back to actually just horizontal shots to start with. I think like recently I was shooting stuff in Sturgis with Justin Warthog bike and Jason, who owns the Glencoe campground. They have both had like a Pan American and a 1942 WLA, and so they were both bikes together. Like it was cool shot, and I was like, none of this looks great in vertical format. Like everything should be horizontal. It would look so much more cinematic. And so I ended up shooting it both ways, but obviously everything that we end up putting on Instagram is vertical. It's a shame because as I was shooting it, I was like, I should shoot much more in horizontal, and I barely shoot anything in horizontal because I'm so formatted to think vertical. Whereas my friend Olivier Touron, who is obviously a professional photographer and that is leaps and bounds better than I'll ever be, shoots everything horizontal.
Yeah.
Because he's been trained this way and he knows that it just looks better from a composition standpoint and everything. And then he will end up cropping things if he has to.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I speak for myself, no one else, but I think I am somewhat, I came to photography through the era of Instagram, and therefore everything I know about photography outside of the books that I own is taught to me through the lens of social media. And I think I like what you do of having all these old books, etc., to look at a different way of photographing. Like I have a lot of books on war photography because I am very interested in history. And so I look at these photographs of Kappa, as we were talking today, or a few other guys, and I realize none of them are vertical, for example. And the way they shot is so different. Obviously, the surroundings are excessively different. But so I think it's good to be inspired by other things, and an art show or something else goes in that direction as well. So
yeah, vertical shooting like tends to work well for like I mean, think about it, like a lot of like Instagram shots, like you want to fill the space with the bike or the product or the thing, right? So if you have a vertical shot or a horizontal shot, I'm sorry, that kind of gives you a perspective of the environment.
Exactly.
And the subject is super small, it's not impactful. But if you see that like on printed, it's very impactful because you see a scale and you're immersed in it in a different way. And you know, like, don't get me wrong, I'm the same as you. Like Instagram is what really, I mean, I'd always had a love for photography, but I never would try it. It's cool. I like that it exists. I used to have all the bikes that I would build back in the day would get shot for magazines, and I would always be friends with the photographers, but I never would pick up a camera and do it, you know. But Instagram was kind of an inspiration among many other things that I've talked about on these episodes before. And so you get kind of conditioned to like, I'm trying to shoot stuff for Instagram, and then over time you know, like I'm proud of it, but now like I want to shoot for something else.
Yeah.
You know, I want to shoot for a different thing. I want to experience this in a different way. And a lot of that came when I got to go to Michael Lichter's house and see photography printed and photo books and things like that. And it changed my perspective.
Yeah.
And then like, if I only consume Instagram for inspiration, then I'm only going to be regurgitating the same thing over and over again. I'm not going to be able to look at something or bring a fresh idea, even if the idea is old as hell.
Yeah.
You know, but I found inspiration from a photo from 1940 that I'm finding a way to use in my current way I'm shooting to show motorcycling in a different light
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
you got to
totally.
look outside to reinvent inside or
Yeah.
something, you know?
That's very true. I think for me, it's also been able to kind of, to your earlier point, be a little bit more okay with letting go of numbers and letting go of, criterias of performance and giving myself the room to be like, I know this is not going to perform necessarily because it's not front and center on the bike, but this is still a cool shot and that's what I'm going to do. And I like it this way. I used to be very drawn by, especially when I started, so 5-6 years ago, I was like very like looking at my analytics and my numbers a lot. Over the past, I would say 2 years, year and a half, I've tried to tune that out a little bit more, and now I try to shoot things that I know will not perform, but that I think are cool to me. And it's been creatively, I think it's giving me a lot of also room to reinvent things a little bit. Especially focusing more on surroundings rather than necessarily just motorcycles itself, and trying to paint a picture that has a little bit more depth than just focused on the bike, but just try to show more things itself or adding more motion to things, etc. And it's been great. I think it's a little step in a bigger step that is deconstructing what social media does to the way we look at photography. And like one thing is the numbers, another thing is how do you think of what a photo should be. And I think it's a long form, it's a process for me that I am going through right now. But it's a good one.
Do you think printing your photography helped you see it in a different way to where, like, I've had photos that I think look really great on Instagram, but I don't think they would look good as a print.
I don't think I've had that because I haven't printed so many of them. I've maybe printed like 20 to 30 as a whole. Most of the ones I've printed, I was very happy with.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like those shots, like the print that I have from you, the Brooklyn Bridge shots. Yes. Oh man, like
that was but that's kind of what I want to do more. Is like this kind of, and we talked about this a little bit. Like to paraphrase Peter McKinnon, it's from like taking a photo to making a photo and trying to think more of a production and an idea and like make it happen rather than just snapping away on a regular Tuesday morning ride or whatever. And like that shot of the burnout on the bridge was the first time that I was like, okay, let's try to think of what we're going to do before we do it, and let's try to produce it to the best of my abilities. And there's been a few more that I've done since that are in that direction, but not enough. And I really want to try to transition to something like this. And maybe that means I'll post less things because it will take me longer to produce them and put them together. But I would really, really I'm very inspired by like the work of like people like, the Aaron Brimhall of the world, etc. Because you can tell that they've thought of what they're putting out there.
Yeah.
And I think that is the next level of one of the levels of evolution is transitioning from taking something on the go to really thinking of the story you're going to tell and bringing it to life.
That could be very putting yourself in a box as well.
Fair. And that contradicts some of the stuff we discussed earlier on spontaneity and everything. But
I kind of went through a similar like conversation in my head. I can't remember if it was a year ago or 2 years ago or, I know it was a couple years ago. Both styles of photography have their place, right? I would think that if you have an idea for a shoot, making that photo, as you said, is 100% the way you got to do it. I mean, that happens. But then going out there and being able to see and capture things is also very important because you have to be able to recognize photography everywhere. In my opinion.
Yeah. You're right. I don't think one excludes the other.
Because when you go like photograph an event, for a brand, for Harley, you're not making that. You're capturing something that exists.
Yeah.
And so that muscle needs to be worked out. When you go and Harley's like, hey, ride this new Road Glide, take some cool creative shots. You have to go make photos.
Yes.
There.
That's true.
Right.
And event photography is much harder than I thought it would be.
Yeah,
and I've done a few this year, like for Harley or even just to entertain myself at local bike nights in Brooklyn. And it is hard to make anything look good because there's just busy events. There's just so many people. It's a great muscle, to your point, and it's a great thing to exercise yourself. And I really have respect for people that are able to take like even wedding photos. I mean, wedding photos, it's a whole different game. But like making these kind of big events look cinematic and cool is just it's much harder than I thought it would be.
And I think that's where the whole idea of like practicing, like you said, to go out to there and start to recognize and like immerse yourself in it, to where it's like, what is it about this that makes me like how do I make this feel like, like Lichter was good at this, or is good at this, and some of his early work, like capturing like the crowd at the Buffalo Chip while the lightning striking.
That photo is
those kind of shots are like he's like we were on the bridge and we're thinking about jumping out on the side to get this angle, right? Lichter's always looking for that perspective that's different to show scale and emotion and fucking shit like that. And that's where I think that it's good to do that. But it's also good to be in a studio and know how to sculpt light, make it work, do this. Like there's so many facets of photography that you can kind of go in. And I think that maybe if I, like you were just saying, if I just stuck to making photos or taking photos, like going out and just, capturing whatever it is, like you could probably grow in that space better. Yeah. But I like the versatility of being able to take my camera everywhere and walk away with something usable. Yeah. Something that can tell a story. If I need to showcase this new Arlen S part or Custom Dynamics light, then I have the ability to shoot it for them because they need to use it for marketing. But I can also like go out in Sturgis, walk around and see their products on someone I don't know and find a way to capture it in an everyday use scenario where it's also value to them. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think versatility, especially these days and age where things are changing very fast, I think in the photography world, like versatility will be even more needed. And I think to some extent, the field of photography that might actually have the more of a obvious future to me is probably the one that has to do with authenticity and event rather than very produced shots where AI will be able to do it much faster than you can. Whereas an event, a bike night or an Indian Larry block party, you'll always most likely need someone that is able to capture it in a good way. So you need to have both. And it used to be that for me, the most exciting part was always like the produced thing. But I think this year, because of the race stuff, and then because I've kind of forced myself to go to these events and try to see what I can get out of them, I've definitely started to grow that muscle of like trying to bring a polished version of an event or something that I think looks good to my standards in my own ways to life. And it's been a good evolution. At the end, if you look like, and I think I've done right on one of the things that I said last year on the podcast, which was my Instagram will not so much be about me anymore. Yeah. And I think I'm proud. I'm happy that I was able to take that departure from what I've done for so long, which was solely about me, to now almost not so much being about me anymore and more about the people I meet, the events I go to, the places I see. And I've grown a lot through that. So it's been a good process.
Yeah, that's what I definitely can attest to that, because when I started shooting, I wanted to shoot my own bikes and my own projects, my own stuff. But like, man, there's just something about shooting everyone else and everything else. And that's why I had to start a separate page, because I didn't want to confuse people if I shot a bike that someone had that was really cool, but someone else built it or painted it. I don't want to put that on the Fast Life Garage.
Sure. Yes. Yeah, it makes sense.
And it seemed like I'm taking credit for someone else's stuff. So my photography page became this catch-all for photography that doesn't have anything to do with my brand. Sometimes it does, but for the most part, it's the world that I get to be a part of. What are you doing now? Like what's some of the, maybe a plan or an idea for like once the bike gets back on the road? Like, what is something you want to do with the Road Glide?
The Street Glide.
Street Glide, sorry.
I think I'll do what I wanted to do with it originally, which is driving it cross country. I'll probably drive it differently than what I think my original plan was to crush highway miles and all of that. And I think maybe when the bike is fun. Well, actually, sorry, let me backtrack. Most likely the first thing I'll do is to try to, which goes against a lot of things I said earlier. The first thing I'll probably do is try to beat my coast-to-coast record time with a friend of mine with it, which would most likely happen in October or November if the bike is back together by then. I've mentioned last time we did the podcast, I've done the Florida to California coast-to-coast in 46 hours. That was my best time. Then my friend Kevin destroyed this by doing it, I think, in 42, 43 hours. I can't remember. He did much faster than I did.
Is it like Jacksonville to San Diego?
Jacksonville to San Diego. I did mine and I slept, on the 46 hours, I slept 7 hours. And I had a whole lot of mechanical issues with my gear shifter. So I feel very confident that I can bring below 40. And I know Kevin feels...
How does that, like, run me through that? What is it? So you what time do you leave, like, Jacksonville?
Yeah. So when I did it, I left Jacksonville at like 5 a.m. kind of thing, maybe even 4. Like, it was early for sure. I was in Texas. I was in Houston for rush hour, which was not fun. And I slept in Ozona, Texas, basically in the middle, almost a little bit further west than Austin, maybe between Van Horn and Austin. I slept there for 6-7 hours, and then I finished the rest, basically. And I arrived in San Diego with the time difference, the 3-hour time difference. I was in San Diego by 10 p.m., I believe.
The next day?
The next day.
Nice.
So 46 hours all in. Like I said, if I didn't sleep and if I didn't have mechanical issues, I think it would have been much faster. But at the time, my goal was to do it below 48. I didn't really have a goal to go faster than anything.
Yeah.
I was just trying to do it below 48. So it was a fun ride, actually. It was just very cold because it was in January. But he did gear. And it was fine. So Kevin did much better than I did on the Dyna as well. So I did it on we both did it on 2016 lowrider S's. And so the goal this year would be to do it together this time because we ride together often. I mean, as much as we can. He's in North Carolina. And to do it below 40 together would be the objective. And most likely that will be the first ride I will do on the Street Glide if it's done by then, if it's fixed by then. From there, I would most likely resume the original plan, which was to bring it to a lot of cool locations in the US and shoot all the great content and all of that.
Yeah.
But I think I would do it differently than what I had originally planned through the lens of the trip I am currently on, which would be probably less Stakhanovist when it comes to miles, more back roads, less highways, more time, more everything. So I think that would be the plan. Just ride it as much as I can. It's unfortunate because I really want to bring the Dyna to 100,000 miles. Right now I'm at 85, so I still need to put 15,000 on it at some point. And if I switch fully to the Street Glide, it's going to have to take a backseat. But it is what it is. So I ride it across the country. Ideally, I would love to ride it to Canada if I can. But yeah, basically riding it until it breaks is probably the plan.
Yeah, that'd be cool. So what you did a Street Glide? You did a big motor in there, didn't you?
Yeah, with the 135, which is absolutely not needed when you live in New York City, actually. But obviously it's a great motor, and like it's funny because I've never felt like my Dyna, which is a 110, was underpowered. But now, I'm like, oh wow, it is a leap of difference between both. The 135 is much smoother and reliable than I thought it would be. I was a little bit on the fence personally about getting the 135 on this. FX DLS Brooklyn was really the one driving it because he had a 131 and so he wanted a 135. I personally wasn't so much into necessarily doing this, but then I was like, okay, why not? And I must say I was very pleasantly surprised by how the motor handles. Again, I don't have that much time on the bike because I only barely did maybe 2,500 miles on it so far. But these 2,500 were very smooth. So It's been fun. It's a fun mode, especially in sports mode. Like I didn't realize how much of a difference the modes do to the way the bike reacts.
Yeah.
But just switching it from like the highway mode to the sports mode, like it becomes a very fun bike to ride.
I think I've only ridden the newer bikes in sport mode. And I think that my biggest gripe with it all is like I don't like how loose the throttle feels.
I see
Like
what you mean.
it's too. There's no resistance.
Yeah, there's none. Yeah,
and
for sure.
I don't know, like that part I don't like, but that's why I like throttle cables because you feel it pulling back, and so it's like you're fighting it.
Yeah.
Which 100% comfort over long haul, and you're like just holding that. I get that, but that like when you're like trying to ride hard, like I feel like I need. I'm tense.
You
know, like I want to fucking fight something, you know? Not like I hit a bump in my arm, like the weight of my elbow like gives it gas, you know what I mean? But no, like I said, I'm still in that boat too where I know that next spring is probably going to be time to jump back on a new modern bike. I don't know yet if I'm kind of more leaning towards like a Lowrider ST, the newest version. That's been really appealing to me lately. I've already had one, but I haven't had one with like the new motor. Yeah. The
high output thing.
Yeah, the high output motor is just so much more appealing to me because of how much power it makes. And with the new I think it's an oval port head situation that's like making a lot more power, and I don't know, it's just interesting to me. I want to be able to have that 130 horsepower range with just a cam. Yeah. That way I don't have to worry about the heat and all the crazy shit. Not that I ever had any issues with my 131s when I had them. I love the motors. But when you have a big ass motor in your bike, there's still like you're leaving every time you go on a trip. It's like, should be good.
That's exactly how I felt. And obviously, I mean, I can't really say much about it because I only did a few thousand miles. But if I look at FXDRS Brooklyn, he just did 10,000 miles on it and he had zero issue.
Yeah, that's so fucking cool.
That's pretty awesome for him.
Yeah. But you were also talking about maybe an FXR.
I mean, that is I've used the word new frontier a lot in this past hour we've spent together, but that is a true.
Yeah.
And so the backstory on this is my friend Wilson, who has the blue FXR built by Badfoot in New York, sent me one day a story of Rob, world-class dirtbag on Instagram, who was looking for a photographer for the East Coast FXR Jam.
Yeah.
And I don't know anything about FXRs much, but I just said, hey, I'll do it if you want. And so him and I really hit it up, and like we became good friends. I've spent time with him afterwards. And so I had like a really like a true initiation to the world of FXRs, of all this time I spent with him within the FXR Jam first for 3 days, where I met the whole community, shot everybody, portraits of everyone, and then even more so when I stayed at his place during Laconia, and him and I just rode around and did all kinds of shit. And I must say, like, it is a very endearing culture and so different from maybe not so different, but different from what I know of the motorcycle culture until then. Like the amount of dedication and obsessiveness of these guys when they build these bikes, etc., was super cool. Especially Rob, who is so knowledgeable. Like spending time with him, he was explaining me how this period correct thing works versus this, and how he's trying to source all the right parts of the right time. And I don't know, it was just super cool. And I met a bunch of his friends, and anyways, he was like, at some point, he's like, oh, maybe you should get an FXR, and we should do what they call the triple crown, which is this idea of you have to build your FXR, or at least you have to have an FXR, and then you have to ride it to 3 different rallies over the course of the same year. So that would be the East Coast FXR Jam in New York State, Sturgis, and then the West Coast FXR Jam in Lake Tahoe. And if you do all these 3 within a year, you become a triple crown finisher owner. Yeah. And there's only a few people that do it because obviously it's a rough ride on FXR. My friend Wilson just did it. Rob has done it. And so he was like, oh, maybe you should consider it. And I actually am considering it because I think it would be such a different way to look at motorcycles and adventure. And so I don't know. I mean, like I said, no financial position to buy another bike, but maybe I'll sell the Sportster that is not getting a lot of miles, and maybe I'll try to find a cheap FXR and see what can do. I think what I find really enticing with it, more than the idea of the ride, is the idea that it would force me to finally become more knowledgeable on mechanics, because obviously, I mean, I've had a lot of issues on my Dyna, but I'm not the one that fixes the Dyna most times. I mean, I can troubleshoot a few things and I can get it to the dealership or the shop that's going to help me fix it, but I don't necessarily have the knowledge to, fix it myself all the time. I think if I was on an FXR, I would just have to learn much more, just because it would probably break more often, and I would have to know how to bolt stuff. I would have to know a lot more about my own bike in a way, and that's something that has always been on the list of things I should do. But I think I always kind of put it on the back burner a little bit by convenience or by whatever. And so I think that would be a welcome development, to be much more knowledgeable about my own bike, basically. Like I said, I think I know my Dyna fairly well, but I think there's a difference between knowing and knowing how to fix, having all the tools with you, etc., etc.
Yeah.
So I would welcome that, because I think that would be a good way to think of travel differently, be more self-reliable, etc. So we'll see. It would be fun. It would be really fun, and it would be different, so for sure. Like you were saying, like when you're gonna have your chopper, you're not gonna do 110 on the highway, and that's fine. It's not built for that. I think if I have an FXR, same. I mean, you ride fast on your FXR. Maybe I will ride fast still. I don't know, but I feel like it would be.
I'm only riding fast because I thought you wanted to ride fast.
Oh, no. I feel like it would be a different type of. It would be a different type of riding and different type of trip. And Rob is a really great guy that I've really come to appreciate a lot. So
I feel like I've met him, but I don't know if I've met a lot of really, really great dudes in the FXR world, and it, like, the ones that I've just kind of like become more friends with have been like Chris Harry and Joe Kidd and the Clems guys, and so like there's a lot of dudes out there that I think are straight fucking ambassadors of FXRs that I would love to get to know more and bring on the podcast and stuff, but I don't like doing phone podcasts. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I've been wanting to go to I think what's hard about the Triple Crown is the spacing of the events.
Yeah, it's not easy, for sure.
Because literally in the course of 2 months, you almost, depending on where you're at in the country, you almost have to do 3 cross-country trips.
Yeah, I agree. It's a time commitment, and depending on your work or anything, it's hard to take the time to do it. That's very.
It's almost like if you lived by the West Coast Jam or the East Coast Jam, like you're in the best position.
Yeah, but if you're in the middle, it's tough.
Yeah. So for you to go to New York or to go to the New York or the East Coast Jam in New York is not too bad. To go to the West one is the biggest undertaking.
Yeah.
And then to go to Sturgis and back is also a big undertaking, but it's 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
Versus the closest one to maybe me here is 1,100 miles.
Yeah, you're really out.
And then it's like 1,800 miles to each of the other ones.
The only worst place would be Florida. But
yes, that would be the worst. So there is worse.
But yeah, no, you're right. Actually, I agree. It's not an easy. It's not an easy thing to pull off. I think that's probably why also there's so few people that have.
And that's what makes it cool. Like I'm not saying that like I think it should be easier. I think we've talked about this a lot, that doing hard things is very important, and I feel like we should all be trying to find ways to accomplish harder things, whether that is personal goals of like trying to learn something or develop more, or ride a bike that's not easy, like it's so rewarding. You know what I mean?
Hard things and it's kind of like the underlying thing that FX Dealers Brooklyn and I have talked a lot about as well. And like that, we're trying to bring to life with Curse, this brand that we've created, which is all about like doing the hard shit and going through the hard things instead of trying to find a detour to make things easy. I agree. And that's also the appeal maybe of, FXRs and things like that. I always felt like that, like what the riding I do was pretty hard in a ways, because I get rained on all the time and I'll do all this kind of coast to coast stuff. But at the end of the day,
it definitely is. Like,
it is, but I think what you're about to do on a chopper is probably a whole other version of it. Like, I think it's good to see different sides of what more adventures on motorcycle can look like. And I think that would be a good evolution.
I think maybe the chopper, you can't, if you have a modern bike, the suffering isn't long.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can just turn the throttle back and put more miles down in the day, but I don't look at any of it as suffering. I just look at it as a challenge. Like, you know, I want to experience things on every, you know, on a motorcycle that is appealing to me at the time, you know, and right now it's a chopper to see what the road feels like, to,
You're going to see how it feels.
oh yeah. Honestly, the riding part is not what bothers me. It's the fact that like, this is only going to have a kickstart. There's no starter. So, you know, I'm hoping that I can learn enough and dial this thing in enough so that it starts every time.
The bar is very low. Just to get the motorcycle to start.
Yeah.
No, I think that makes sense for sure. Yeah.
And you know, like that's kind of where the challenge is because it's a very unfamiliar place to me. And to learn how to operate or push myself through that part of it is the hard part, you know? Like the riding part is the easy part. No matter what it feels like.
Yeah.
That's easy. That's familiar. I've done that a million times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably going to be, there'll probably be other ways that are more uncomfortable, but same thing. Like if you ride that bike that I have downstairs I just finished, and then you ride my FXR chopper, I think you might find that my chopper is more comfortable.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
We're kind of like the similar height. It's just everything's in the right spot.
Yeah.
And when you sit on it, you feel good, you know? And it just works. Like I could ride my FXR chopper anywhere.
Really?
You
Well,
know?
you did actually.
There are times like pushing it to 1,000 miles in a day is pretty tough. Like I think the most I've ever done on that bike is 800 miles in a day.
I mean, on that bike is already a lot.
On a bagger, baggers are more comfortable. Don't get me wrong. I think that maybe this FXR down here is technically more comfortable, but I feel more comfortable on my FXR chopper.
Yeah.
Like the riding position, the seat, all that stuff, you know. But I'm also probably just used to it.
Yeah.
It's making me get used to like sucky bikes traveling on. So when I do ride the chopper, hopefully, Lord willing, that I'll be able to. I'll already be used to it. I'll be acclimated to the pain, if you will.
Well, you'll do back roads and stuff. I mean, it's a different kind of trip, I guess. Yeah. You'll have to do it.
And you know what the scariest thing about doing a jockey shift and no front brake is going to San Francisco.
Oh, yeah, with the hills and everything? Dude, I
don't know why I want to do that.
I mean, seriously, you're looking for trouble. Yeah, because you're going to do no front brake. Oh, yeah, that's insane. Good luck. It'll be fun. Yeah. It'll make some good content, no matter what.
You know, I'll be sitting sideways in streets.
Yeah. I mean,
while I'm waiting for the light to turn, and then I'll turn back up. But I mean, like that's the point. It's like that. It's cool to do and doing hard shit. The same way it feels cool to do 1,000 miles or to do cross country in under X amount of hours. Like those are just challenging things that I think that we all are at different points where we find what challenges us and what's calling us to, you know, conquer. And for me, it's a bike, and maybe for you, it's that time frame, you know, of finishing that challenge.
We'll see. Yeah, it's funny. What would be really challenging would be to do the cross country on the FXR under 46 hours. That would be a real challenge. But I won't do that. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But I mean, talking back to your point about the podcast, like I hope that you meet with Rob. He's coming to Born Free, and he's building a really cool
he's doing the FXR tour. Yeah. The problem is he needs to come here.
I'm sure you can.
Yeah, it's like I don't do podcasts at events. I mean, we did it last year at Sturgis, but it was like before the rally. It's just hard. Like there's nowhere at Born Free, Texas to sit down and do a podcast.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm running a booth. Yeah, he's going to probably run a booth as well for, you know, the booth that he gets for Born Free. And so it's just not the place to do it, you know. But, you know, like I try to be open. And the thing is, I just don't know enough people going east to couch surf like I do when I go west. Because otherwise I'd go to New York all the time.
Yeah, we all have very tiny apartments also. But
yeah, that's the thing. It's like, it's not even that it's not that you wouldn't love to let me stay there. It's like, there's no room.
You're welcome to stay on the couch if you want.
Yeah.
But like, and I know like, actually, you know, like I'm sure we could find something like between like the group we have of our friends, like that wouldn't be an issue, I'm sure. But it's different. Right? Very small footprints over there. But it's the last Indian Larry block party. So,
yeah, I'm gonna try to fly out there.
yeah, fly out there.
Yeah.
It'll be a good time. Like I'm excited. Like it's such a cool event. Like last year was like insane. Like it was just so rowdy and everything. Like
It seemed. I mean, last year was coming off of the year that they did the burnout on top of the container.
Yeah, the container. That was
So
also pretty.
I didn't know if you could top that.
Yeah, no. Last year they had East Coasting. They had like burlesque dancers doing like a burlesque show while the East Coasting guys were doing rolling burnouts next to them and wheelies and everything.
Oh, that's
like,
crazy.
It was very, very cool. Like it's insane to think that something like this can still happen in New York City. Like it is such a controlled environment. Like I get kicked out everywhere when I try to take pictures unless it's a Sunday morning at 6 a.m. And the fact that they're able to pull that off still in a neighborhood that has been gentrifying that quickly and that level of rowdiness, even though it's a little bit more guarded than it used to be, I think there's a little bit more security and everything. It's just a really good time. And it almost feels anachronic in a way versus the way the city is and what they're able to bring. It just feels like I didn't live in New York in the 90s, but like it just feels like you bring a little bit back of that sense of grittiness and danger, which I think is super cool. And that's why it's such an endearing event. And I say it's going to be the last act. It's just a rumor. Who knows? Maybe it will be, maybe it won't be. But it's definitely like something to attend if anyone can. It's a great event.
Yeah, I've only been once, and that was in 2020, and it was. I mean, I don't know if it can be topped because of being in the city during COVID, but before vaccine passports.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
that
so-
was the year where they had like the whole. Like, you remember like what they wrote on the sidewalk, like the massive thing that they wrote that you could read from the drone upstairs. Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah, it was wild. But like I said, we were talking. Me and the wife were thinking about flying out there and having a day or two to us just to explore New York City, but also do that. And it's all based on the fact that how far I am along. That's why it's kind of scary to buy plane tickets now.
Yeah.
When I don't know what kind of time I'm going to have at the end. This is what middle to end of September, which is going to be like literally when Indian Larry Block Party goes on, it will only be a month left until Born Free. And if it was just like building the bike, the chopper, and that's all I had to do till now, oh yeah, fine. But I got to paint bikes, helmets.
Yeah.
I got to get all of our stuff ready for our vendor space, new T-shirt designs, things like that. It's just difficult. And I try not to get on these podcasts or in social media and just talk about like, oh, it's just me. But it is. And it's like, it does get difficult sometimes to do it all. And once again, we've had this conversation when you came out here. It's like too much of my stuff is things that I personally have to do or that I feel like I need to have to do because I haven't got someone to do it to the level that I need it done or that I know that I can do it, And so I end up just doing it.
Yeah.
And
it's a lot to manage.
Yeah, it's like, we leave here, we're going to go spend the rest of the night shooting photos and, whatever. And then tomorrow I come back in here, I start working. And then tomorrow night I get off and I go back home and I start editing, photos and podcasts and start working on the next YouTube video. And next thing you know, it's 3 a.m. And then you wake up at 8, back at work at 9.
What's the hardest thing for you to do? Like the editing, the podcasting, the YouTube?
The podcasting is the easiest. The YouTube is maybe the most engaging right now because it's the newest. The paint is the thing that needs the most attention,
right?
Because it's the thing that really does. It's my livelihood, right? And it's also the thing that's more like a job. So I have to really find ways to be motivated in it. Like you ever I guess if you work somewhere, it probably makes sense. But like I've worked for myself my entire adulthood, right? So I don't know what it's like to be at a job and only want to go work on something else, but you can't until you get done with this.
Yeah.
I do have that same feeling here sometimes, but I genuinely try not to think like that or have that feeling because I need that positive energy in me to be on whatever project I'm working on. So it does get difficult sometimes when you really want to go work on a YouTube video, but you also got to do a helmet
Yeah.
And the helmet's not really calling you the same way the YouTube video or the podcast or a photo shoot or, you know, or something else is calling you. So I try to just maybe if it's that overpowering, I might just go do the other thing because I do want to put like real passion into everything I do here. And yeah, sometimes it happens like that. That's why I can only paint like 20 helmets a year, you know, instead of like Poland, who is one of my favorite painters, paints like 80 something helmets a year.
Wow.
Plus a couple motorcycles. Like I paint maybe 7, maybe 10 bikes a year, maybe. And then I'm probably do 20 helmets. That's it, you know? And so I don't know, like less is more for me. I'd rather do less, but have more work that I'm proud of than produce more. Not saying that Poland's not putting out badass paint jobs every time he does it. I couldn't produce that amount.
Yeah.
You know, and travel and paint and do this and try to put an art show together and keep a bike night going and fucking, you know, be a husband and, you know, a dad.
How's the bike night going? You think? Like it's been for years, right? Because I remember
it's been years. It's operating and it's good and we got people there, but it's stale right now in my opinion. Like for me, I'm kind of bored, you know, and I don't know what it is that needs. I don't know what it needs, but we have a great location and we have great people there, but I don't know. Like something's missing on my, like maybe something I need that I don't know what that is. So when I'm saying that, I don't want people to take that as it's someone else's problem. It could be my own thing, like my own shit, you know? So I got to figure out what it is that I need out of it or perspective.
You started it in what, 2019?
The beginning of 2018.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it's been a long time.
Yeah.
And it's every week?
Yep.
That's impressive. People show up every week.
Every week for 7 years.
That's rad. I can't think of something. I mean, actually, there's something similar in New York. It's called Two Wheel Tuesday. But it's not very Harley centric. I mean, there are some Harleys, but it's more like a lot of other bikes too, like a lot of everything.
Yeah.
But Indian Larry hosted one recently, so I went, and that was kind of cool actually. But yeah, that's an impressive longevity at the very least. But
well, the goal was always to create something that just happened, and like it could happen whether I exist here or not. You know, like it'd be so sick if like I moved to New York for 10 years and then came back to Dallas and the bike night was still going on. You know, that to me, that would be like, that'd be sick.
Yeah.
You know, like, and not so I can come back and go, I started this.
Yeah.
No, just to see that an idea and a premise could outlive like, you know, the creators of it or whatever, you know? And right now I feel like it could. I mean, I think that the people that come along that, you know, we've had iterations of people that come to bike night, so kind of like the high school thing I was talking about, like freshman, you know, sophomore, senior, and then they're gone. And some stick around forever, some don't, you know. Like I'm the only original dude that started bike night that still goes to bike night. Yeah.
It's like the black metal bands. Like there's only one guy from the original band and then everything changed. But that's normal, I guess, in any case. Like would you say most people stay for, what's the average length of a stay of like, it's like a few years or like, is there an average, if anything?
Yeah, I think that for most people in motorcycling in general, it's like 5 years is that threshold. If you can do motorcycling for more than 5 years, I think it tends to be more like embedded into your life. Not to say that you can't fall out of love with it after 5 years, but I think you tend to be more
in it.
A for life guy if you can manage it for 5 years, stay interested for 5 years. But also, I think a lot of that has to do with like the intentions of why you're into motorcycles, and you know, and the right combination of like finding people to enjoy it with.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that there aren't people out there that have no friends that ride and no other connection to humans, but also absolutely love motorcycles and travel and do all kinds of shit. I think that when you find a good group of people and you start pushing yourselves and, you know, having goals within yourselves to do bigger things like the cross country trips or the, you know, 36 hours coast to coast or some shit like that. You know, like those things build bonds.
Yeah,
and
100%.
it helps people stay more connected to it. Like me and my boys up there on the wall, like we traveled a lot of this country together, you know, like some of the all the dudes are still into motorcycles, but they're all like, most of them are in different spaces, you know, so we don't have the connection that we had once, but I cherish those moments that we did that together, you know?
And the group of the bike night people, like, do you guys, like, you meet every week, but do you ride together, or is it just we meet for drinks and then everybody goes home kind of thing?
We just kind of meet at bike night. Bike night is bike night is just a place to congregate. And I think it's a place to go and make plans.
Right. Yeah.
You know, there are people that have like, oh, why don't we meet at bike night and go ride everywhere? It's like, dude, it's 7 p.m. We live in a major city. Like, this isn't the back roads where we can go have a nice cruise.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, we might cruise across some of the bridges at the end of bike night and then all go our separate ways on home. But man, like, I don't, that takes organizing, orchestration.
Yeah.
You know, like, this is where we're going to be at this time. Come, go as you please. It's happening every week. Easy peasy.
That's cool.
We're not doing giveaways. There's no band. There's no vendors. It's just a place that people, you can know that on Tuesday there's going to be other bikers there.
Yeah.
You know, and it's simple, you know. Now, we don't have like some massive numbers. It's not like bike night consists of like 100 people every time. Sometimes there's times when it's 4 of us, and those are the best fucking times.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the best. And there's times where there's 80 people there, or 30 or 20. And it's like, I always tell people that would hit us up about wanting to do a bike night. I was like, don't make bike night in your head a success or a failure based on how many people show up. Make it a success on how you feel being there and how the people that did show up feel being there. And if people love it and they keep coming back and it's a part of them, then that's success. But if you're trying to build a party, or you're trying to build an event, then say that this is an event. This isn't a bike night.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
You know, like if you need 200 people to show up to this event so that it could be successful, that's an event. You know, a bike night is just a hang. It's just a connection. I've seen bike nights take place in gas station parking lots. It's all, you don't need anything. You just need the ability to connect to other riders. And then from there, you guys can conversate, maybe have a drink, maybe have a sandwich or a taco or whatever, and plan bigger things, you know, whatever. Hey, this weekend, what are you doing? I'm free. Man, I've been wanting to check out this bar, this restaurant, or this place I saw on you know, some riding app or something like that. Bam. Bike night was now successful.
Yeah.
It created something. It brought 2 people together to do a bigger thing on a motorcycle, you know?
It's a good way to put it. I mean, you know, riding on the bridge of the Dallas skyline was one of my first, like, spiritual experience on motorcycles. Like, because when I lived here, I started riding there. I remember the first time I ended up on that on the bridge that goes towards the design district, I think. Also.
Yeah.
And looking at the skyline, I was like, oh wow, this is why I got into riding motorcycles, just to be there at night, the wind in my hair. I mean, not hair, like the wind, and then just looking at the skyline, and it was super cool. I remember that moment quite vividly. Like it's such a beautiful city, and it's been great to be back here for. So I used to live here 10 years ago for 2 years and a half, and I really, really loved Dallas as a city. I really loved Texas as a state, specifically Dallas as a city, because I felt there was such a momentum of people working together to bring Dallas on the map of culture, of culinary for restaurants, of arts. I think Dallas Art Fair does a lot of great things. I think even from I don't know, it just felt like everybody was proud of being here and wanted people to see Dallas as a city that is the equal of an LA or a Miami, etc., from all these perspectives. And I, because of my work, ended up being part of this movement for a few years. And then I moved to New York, and I obviously did not see the same thing there because it's much closer to a big cosmopolitan city like Paris and everything, with a lot of infighting and a lot more differences. And it's already on the map. So there's no common drive to put it on the map. It's already there. And I always miss that dynamism that I found for a couple of years in Dallas, that I found so refreshing. And being back here for the past couple of days, I have been back for work a couple of times, but like this is the first time I actually spend time hanging out instead of working. And I got to be back in Fort Worth. With you, we rode through Dallas, and just seeing how both cities seem to have blossomed as much as roadwork seems to be blossoming still.
Oh yeah.
It's kind of cool to see like that, everything is growing and it seems to be successful and everything. These are such a great place to be.
Yeah, I think there was a recent post like on an Instagram thing about like someone like, it seemed like a bullshit post, but it was like Dallas is a new great destination for vacationing. And we're all like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know about a vacation spot.
That wouldn't come to me at first, but
yeah, but if like it's a great travel spot.
Yeah.
Like if you want to go travel somewhere, and this is a great place to stop through on your journey somewhere. But I wouldn't fly here. You know what I mean?
There's a lot of great things to see, though. I mean, just from a cultural perspective, as far as my info are probably a little bit dated now, but I just remember like the museums are great. The restaurants were definitely getting much better. Like, I think if you look at what people are expecting now from vacations, I think there's a lot of box you check with Dallas. Like,
we just don't have any nature.
You don't have nature and you don't have the scenery.
Yeah.
But you do have I think Texas, Western culture, you could argue Dallas is not really Western in the sense that
Fort Worth is.
Yeah. But I think that culture is having a moment nationwide, if not worldwide, because of the shows and Yellowstone.
Yeah.
I think people want to come to Texas to see this and everything. So I think, yes, there's no nature. Even Austin has much more to offer than Dallas when it comes to this. But I think it's an easy city to travel to. It's easy to get from and to anyways. And there's a lot of great things to do here. So I don't know. I guess actually I could see why people would say Dallas is a place to vacation. Even though I agree instinctively, I wouldn't think of it this way.
Yeah.
But maybe actually.
If you like to get drunk and eat and shop, we have all that.
I remember back when I moved to Dallas, so that was 2014, I remember seeing the statistics, I don't know if that was true, that Dallas was the city that had the most restaurant per capita in the United States, if not the world. I don't know if that was true, but I remember being like, what? That was really surprising.
I always remember like we always had this great patio culture in restaurants and like bars, and like it was just something that like I was like, man, this is awesome. And then when I would go to New York, or not New York, but like LA and San Francisco, I was like, where are the patios at? And like, they don't have that out here. It's so, I mean, they do, but not like what I felt like we had. I think it's definitely come a long way. And I see it like Phoenix always had good patio culture, like restaurants and bars and stuff. I don't know. It's just, but also I have a limited perspective because it's not like I'm everywhere in LA to be able to say we have it all here in LA doesn't, you know, but we have just easier. It's easier to navigate this city because it's not as big as a Chicago or a New York or an LA or San Francisco or even a Houston. Oh, yeah. But it's easier to navigate and go from, you know, one place to another and find good food. You know, there's just more access to that. When in New York, I'm sure that if you live there, it's probably easier because you know the spots. But if you're on the outside looking in, you're in New York, like, let's find a good restaurant. Like, let me look something up on Yelp real quick. And on the block you're at, there's 400 fucking restaurants.
Yeah.
You know?
It's overwhelming a bit. Yeah.
It's overwhelming. It's hard to kind of pick. It's just so much. It's like, I don't know. It's like, I mean, then again, I also had some of the best Italian food I've ever had at a fucking bar in like Long Island City or something like that.
Oh, really?
It's just random. I think it was Long Island City or something. Like what? It's Williamsburg, and then there's like a
yeah. That's Long Island City.
Yeah,
I'm not even gonna ask what you were doing there, but like, what were you doing? No, it's cool. No offense. I mean, actually, Long Island City is definitely booming. Has crazy cool views of the skyline.
Yeah,
done a lot of shots there, and I know there's one Michelin star restaurant in Long Island City that is supposed to be great. And the fact that there is a Michelin star restaurant in Long Island City says a lot about how far Long Island City has come as a city. So that's good for them, I think. The same way that the fact that, you know, there's now luxury resorts in Dallas, like Auberge and everything, like we were talking about a couple of days ago, really are proofs that the city is doing well. If it's on the map of these types of groups that are now investing serious amounts of cash to build these properties.
Well, we have a Universal Studios coming here.
Oh, you mentioned. Yeah,
and
awesome.
like in Frisco. So Frisco, like I was saying, is like just such a booming place. And there's still, even though it's definitely overcrowded up there now compared to what we're used to, there's still a lot of vacant land that can be developed into these like major attractions. So, you know, we've always been a sports town with the Cowboys and baseball and basketball and hockey. If you're into those kind of things, and, you know, like with all the studio stuff they're doing now with the Tyler Sheridan dudes, like opening a big film studio in Fort Worth, and, you know, the Universal thing coming, I think it's just going to attract more of those type of things where if you really think about Orlando, it has nothing to offer, but then you flop Disneyland there, and then you throw Universal Studios there, and now all of a sudden it's one of the vacation spots, the most vacation spot in America for, you know, families and stuff, you know? So once we have enough attractions, it becomes that. But, you know, I don't know. I hope the city doesn't go to that way. Yeah. I don't want to be a vacation spot. I want to be a vibe.
It's a vibe.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the Texas vibe is definitely popular these days. And I don't know. I'm very happy to be back, and I'm very happy to see the city doing so well. I just find it very endearing. I don't know if that's the right word, but like it's cool to see that basically the plans that I was hearing about 10 years ago came to fruition and were delivered so successfully.
That's cool.
I'm stoked for it, like, for sure.
All right. We need to go ride some bikes and take pictures before it gets dark again.
Sounds
on us.
About right.
Yeah. Well, I've enjoyed you coming out here and staying, and, you know, you're more than welcome to stay as long as you need. Yeah, dude, it's been awesome. Like, I do feel like we should have just started recording our conversations as soon as you got here, though.
That would have been a 15-hour podcast.
Yeah.
No, thanks for having me. It's always an honor. Like, I mean, truly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's an honor.
Cool.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, bud. Let's go play motorcycles.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, I hope you enjoyed that, guys. I had a great time spending the weekend with VonGasphalt, and very excited about all the things that he has going on and the way he's pushing the boundaries in photography in a great way. Yeah, I'm a big fan. Glad to call him a friend, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys want to support this podcast, you know you can do so by checking out our Patreon, where we have a online community that is there for your entertainment. No, it's a great place to connect with people, get some unreleased podcast, and share some of your own stuff that you got going on via our group chats. Also, please take a moment to check out our sponsors. They help keep this show alive and going, and I really appreciate them and you for listening to these podcasts. So, got another great one coming for you guys next week with my buddy Cody Childress, talking about his Born Free Texas build. And speaking of Born Free Texas, you know that shit's coming up, and I hope you're trying to make it down there, because it's literally one of my absolute favorite events of the year, and it's one of the best ways to end the year if that's going to be your last trip, you know. So Born Free Texas, October 16th through the 19th, I believe, is the dates. We are also hosting the pre-party for Born Free Texas here in Dallas-Fort Worth at the legendary Strokers Dallas. That will be on Wednesday, kicking off around 4 or 5 p.m. We'll put more detailed dates out soon. Anyway, hope to see you in there. And yeah, I got a chopper to build amongst a lot of other shit. So we'll see you guys on the next one. You have a good one. Peace.